Yeah, we'll get started in just a minute or two here. Wait a couple minutes for a few final people to walk in, and then we'll get started. But just wanted to let you guys know we haven't forgotten about you.
Yes. Yes. Everybody's no, but you don't want to start too late for those who got here on time. So yeah, but yes. All these people know you. At least you're up doing something.
Yeah. All right, y'all, I think we'll go ahead and get started here. I'm Andy Melanson. I'm the president of the Native Plant Society. I know this is a joint meeting with the Bird Alliance and the Plant Society today. So I just want to welcome everybody here. Should be a great time. Great speaker this evening. And we should have plenty of time for questions and such too. And then after the Bird Alliance, I know we'll talk about some of their events, and we may as well. We'll see how that works out, but the priority to you guys, of course. So yeah, our speaker tonight is Jennifer Gruber. She is the state roadside manager for SCDOT. She has a bachelor's in horticulture from Clemson and over 21 years of experience throughout SCDOT. Jennifer is a licensed pesticide applicator and ISA certified arborist with tree risk assessment qualifications. She is also committed to improving the state's roadsides and then invites any opportunity to educate and support stakeholders in this mission. With that all being said, welcome to Jennifer Gruber. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Andy and Trish, for having me. It is my pleasure to be with you this evening. I could not be more excited. I've been very much looking forward to this date. And I'm excited to share a little bit of news about some projects that we are developing at DOT that you will see. It's actually ongoing currently in the Midlands. So I'm excited to share this with you. I am very interested in feedback regarding this project. So I have some business cards on the table near the door. My contact information will be on the last slide as well. As we move through this, I welcome your feedback to this pollinator pilot project. So we will jump right in. First, I want to give you a little background as to what got us here. So a while back, early in my career with DOT, early 2000s, up until about 2017, the way we managed the vegetation on our interstate was very different than we do now. This was largely budget driven. We were lucky in a given year if we were allowed to cut 4 cycles of mowing on the interstate, and was not a consistent look throughout the state. So the different regions of the state had different decision-making authority. And one of the negatives is it wasn't a great look, right? So there was a lot of vegetative debris left over after these cycles. There was not a lot of cohesive management plan for anything beyond just that routine, area for recovery of vehicles. But this is the way we operated up until about 2017. No comprehensive policy statewide. Another one of those, negative impacts, we did not have any comprehensive policy regarding trimming around structures. So this was very regional, and you probably remember this. I don't know, DOT gets a bad rap for a lot of things, I know. But this is one of those things that, the public just did not like this approach to vegetation management, particularly on the interstates. One of the other drawbacks to that approach to vegetation management was what we see here. And actually here, I don't know if you can tell from that photo, but there are some paint marks on that asphalt. We're investigating a vehicle crash between a vehicle and a mower. And why do you think that might have happened? Is there a lot of room there to mow that grass? There was not a lot of room. So over time, what we saw with this approach was you see that tree wall started to encroach into the routinely maintained area. So another one of those negative consequences for not having a comprehensive plan for those entire roadsides. And then this picture, I just like to throw it in there because it shows that we were trying some things. So we are a teachable agency. We do try to learn from our mistakes and we try to incorporate new things. This was a pilot project that we did around 2011 in Colleton County on I-95. And this was where the traffic engineers said, hey, we need more clear zone for runoff road crashes. So we are going to come, and what they actually did is they cut to 45 feet. So previously we were maintaining 30 feet. They expanded that. So they cut the perimeter of this median to give 45 feet. And then also they thinned out some of the interior of this median. The Forestry Commission helped us with this project. It was a step in the right direction. One of those things we did learn from this project was none of these trees exist today. So almost all of these trees were damaged during the thinning process. And so they did not survive. So I showed this to say we are learning, and we do like to learn from previous projects. Okay, fast forward to current day. So since about 2018, there has been a statewide mandate per se, or statewide policy regarding mowing and vegetation management on the interstate. So it looked a lot more like this. We were mowing 6 times a year. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot because anybody that mows their lawn probably, how often do you mow it? Is it once a week during the summer, at least something like that, every other week? So it's not a lot compared to what, maybe municipalities might maintain around landscaped areas, but it was a lot for us. And that comes at a price tag of about $22 million, our mowing statewide. So a significant price tag. But we have been operating under those requirements since about 2018. And one of the unfortunate parts about that policy has been it's regardless of growth. So we cut 6 cycles We start in early spring, we wrap up around mid-October to end of October, regardless of growth. So as you can imagine, I'm managing a $22 million mowing budget. Sometimes those first and last cycles really hurt my feelings because there's not a lot of grass to be cut. Like we started this year on March 31st. It was a very pretty cut because there wasn't a lot of vegetation there to be cut. And this is just a breakdown of our interstate system. We have about 851 centerline miles. That equates to 15,000 acres of routine mowing. And for the purpose of this, that routine mowing is going to be that immediately adjacent to the travel lane area. About 5.5 million linear feet of rail trimming. That's all hand trimming that's done. And we do that 6 times annually. And for the interstates only, that price tag is $5.5 million. So a very significant portion of our entire mowing budget for the state of $22 million was being spent on the interstate system. And this would be a typical mowing schedule. It shows those 6 cycles spaced out throughout the growing season. Like I said, regardless of growth, regardless of whether we were in a drought or not in a drought. And this picture is actually the I-77, I-26 interchange where we had recently done some clearing for drainage. So the engineers had to get in there and work on some of those drainage systems. We had to remove trees out of there. But what we did was once we did that, now we're mowing all of this. So we're continually expanding our footprint of maintenance. And as I'm sure you all know, this is a very labor-intensive approach. It is, like I've said, very expensive. We do have a pretty high worker exposure. All 5.5 million linear feet of rail is hand trimmed. So that is workers on the ground in the right of way in a very dangerous situation, trimming that rail, and then really no positive impact to wildlife through this approach. This is also another effort that the agency is managing now. We are seeing interstate widening at a rate that I have never seen before in my tenure with DOT. Part of that is, results in clearing of fixed objects from the right of way, trees. So we are maintaining an ever increasing footprint. So once these trees have been removed, now we need to incorporate this into a management plan. And again, just another situation where a traffic safety project came in and removed a swath of trees inside this median for traffic safety. Again, just an additional footprint, additional area that we've got to maintain. We've got to find the dollars to do that. One of the projects that I was asked to manage a few years ago was in preparation for the I-26 widening that is occurring right now through Orangeburg and Calhoun counties. So we had a pretty rushed deadline to get a pretty significant amount of trees removed out of that corridor so that that project would not be delayed for the widening. And this is just a picture that I like to show. We cleared about 700 acres in 8 months along that section so that we could stay on time with the project. And this was the before, and this was just 6 months after. So dramatic increase to our management area. And this picture is on the ground at that same location. And you can just see there, some of our interstates have really massive right of way. We didn't even really know this until we started clearing the trees, and the contractor kept going and going. And he said, "Where is there a fence in here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a fence in there somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where it is." But we do have massive right of way on a lot of our interstate segments. Another challenge, we were hit very hard this year with snow and ice conditions. We worked about 3 weeks in a row dealing with issues all over the state. But one of the issues that we hear consistently from our maintenance forces is shadowing on the road. So if we can't get sun on the road when we have snow and ice conditions, we can't clear the road. It continues to refreeze over and over again. And so this is one of the things that the local engineers have taken up in their respective counties. They know their hot spots and they want to keep the road open. This picture looks like a jumbled mess, and it's through my windshield, so I apologize. But this is on I-26 in Berkeley County through a pretty significant thunderstorm. It wasn't a tornado, but it was one of those, I don't know, supercell something. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know that lingo. Long story short, it closed I-26 going into Charleston for about 5 hours the night that this happened. And the reason that is because those pine trees are about 100 feet tall. So it's, obviously challenges to maintaining the roadside with these trees present. And you can see there's a lot snapped off there. There are some leaning. We actually had to go in and remove most of these trees. Okay, so that's been a little bit of our past operating framework, our challenges that framework has brought us. And then now I really want to talk to you about an opportunity. And this is what I'm most excited to share with you tonight. So we do have an opportunity. With this expanded footprint, we have an opportunity to manage this area in a different way than we have in the past. And largely due to the monarch butterfly. No, this is not a monarch, but this is a picture that I took on the side of the road that I thought was really cool, down at the gateway to South Carolina at the Georgia border. Just some naturalized wildflowers there. But we do have an opportunity to manage this area in a different way. And the monarch butterfly, with its potential listing on as an endangered species, is kind of triggering some of this reaction within DOTs and energy partners across the country. So it's kind of the catalyst. But for me, I just see it as an opportunity to do something that I think will be very beneficial to the state, regardless of whether or not the monarch is listed or not. And I'm sure that you guys are probably tracking a little bit of the monarch's journey to being listed, but it has been delayed. So it first got noticed around 2020, when first formal documentation was filed in 2020. And we've seen several various delays. We were supposed to get some guidance last year in September of 25. Fish and Wildlife Service was supposed to issue a formal ruling on this. And that got delayed, and then it was supposed to be early this year, and now that is delayed again till late 2026. So we don't know what Fish and Wildlife is going to do with the monarch butterfly, but we do know that the potential is there, and we have an opportunity to get out ahead of that. And the reason this is so important, obviously, South Carolina is a major migration pattern for the monarch butterfly. And what this means for a transportation agency is very different than what it means for people like you, naturalists, people interested in the natural world. What it means for us is that almost all of our construction projects would grind to a screeching halt if the monarch butterfly is listed. The reason that is, we would have to go through consultation with Fish and Wildlife on every single project. This would be simple resurfacing, no land disturbance involved. And the reason that is because the entire state is within that pathway. So a very different reason for us to be passionate about it. Not so much me, but the engineers. The engineers are like, we can't miss these deadlines. We won't widen these interstates. But I see it as an opportunity to do some good within that urgency. And so they have a unique migration. Obviously, we are completely covered in green. There is a little bit of fall migration there too along the coast. And then apparently we have a population on one of the barrier islands that lives there year round. I can't remember which one, so I'm not going to quote that. But obviously a very unique position for us to be in, managing habitat that could be critical to the monarch butterfly. And this is just a slide that shows that there are 3 pollinator species either currently listed or slated to be listed in the Southeast, including South Carolina. Okay, and so the answer to some of this, with the monarch potentially being listed, Fish and Wildlife has partnered with other agencies, and there is a nationwide CCAA. What that is a candidate conservation agreement with assurances, essentially meaning they reach out to DOTs, utility partners, and say, if you can meet these criteria, for us, it's about 7% of our manageable area. There's a little discrepancy as to what that is. Is that the entire right of way? Does that include pavement? Is that just green space? Regardless, if we can prove that we are managing 7% of our area to benefit pollinators for pollinator habitat, then we would be eligible for this program. For preemptively signing up to this program, then if and when the Monarch becomes listed, we would not have those negative impacts to construction projects as if we were not a partner to this program. So the Department of Transportation South Carolina has not enlisted in the CCA currently. We have been working on an application. But I think more importantly than the application itself, we are practically implementing solutions that will support our entrance into this program when the leadership decides that's time to do that. So these are some other partners. Georgia has entered into the program, Florida. Duke Energy is the only one within the state of South Carolina that has entered into the program. So they have already executed their agreement. And that led to our vision for interstate vegetation management. And this is just a really quick view of our vision. But our vision is to maintain a turf zone, and then obviously a meadow zone beyond that. The turf zone is about 25 feet. And I mentioned previously that our cadence is mowing 6 times a year, regardless of growth. In that turf zone, we are proposing significant reduction to mechanical mowing. I'm working through some contractual issues right now because we are under active contracts with mowing contractors. So we have negotiated a modification with them in the Midlands. They have agreed to mow 3 cycles. So cut that in half. I will have to supplement with some herbicide application in those areas to maintain that as a turf zone. But in the meadow zone, allow that to naturalize, with the exception of we want to remove and suppress the woody vegetation in that area. So we don't want to swing far back to the left. We don't want to go all the way back to where we were, where we have 100-foot pine trees 30 feet away from the travel lane on the interstate. We're not swinging that far. But we do recognize the need to naturalize this area and to maintain it, which will now have natural benefits to pollinators as well. And in the median, there are some medians in our interstate system that are going to be wide enough to accommodate a meadow zone. Large majority are not. So large majority of our medians have cable rail. So those will be maintained in their entirety as a turf zone. And this is just a beginning stage. So we have some counties within DOT that are already kind of taking this approach. They still mow this turf zone 6 times a year, but they are already kind of managing this meadow zone. So they suppress the woody vegetation out of that zone. And this is actually on I-26 in Lawrence County. They are one of those counties that has done a great job managing that expanded footprint. Oops, hit the wrong button. This is also on I-26. This is in Orangeburg County, and this is post that clearing project. So we cleared this in 23. This was the following year in 24. And you can see we're already starting to see some of that woody vegetation pop back up in that area. But essentially this would be the outcome of what we're looking for minus the woodies. Likewise, this is I-95 in Jasper County. This is post a traffic safety clearing project, but that naturalized meadow look in that interchange area minus those woodies.
So,
yes.
So what are we considering for the vegetation, and how far that from the roadside?
Yeah, so any vegetation that forms wood. So what we would suppress all woody vegetation. So sweet gums, trees, yes. Brush and trees. So shrubs, correct. Yes, any woody vegetation.
So what is the distance?
We don't have a distance. So the goal is to maintain areas as they are turned over to maintenance. So as we open up, widen interstates, remove trees in those sections to maintain those areas as meadow area. There is no set distance.
The distance between the road and the meadow area is 25 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So how wide is the proposed meadow?
So that's variable because our right-of-way is variable.
Okay.
So in some areas, our right-of-way might be 150 feet. In some areas, it might be 300 feet.
So,
it varies with every interstate segment.
Okay. So within the meadow zone,
Yes.
there's an intent to not allow any woody growth,
Correct.
but there is no distinct necessary width for.
Correct.
So,
Correct. That we would maintain that entire area that way, regardless of how wide that is.
so I guess maybe the question is, at what point are trees allowed?
They're not in this current program.
Well, there are trees on the roadsides.
Correct. Right, yes, but the point of this is areas that have already been reclaimed. So areas that have been reclaimed due to widening projects, not allow the trees to regrow in those areas.
Okay, well, my assumption was trees would grow on the other side of the meadow.
And it just depends, right? So go back to this picture.
Like, it's, that's well on this, right? If we're talking about the benefit of pollinators, right? It's trees and shrubs first.
Sure, yeah, but we,
Then meadow.
sure, we are in a unique position where trees are a hazard to the roadway. And so as we remove the hazards from the roadway, which we've spent millions and millions of dollars doing because we were the #3 state for traffic fatalities for runoff road crashes, and trees was #1. So we have an initiative to remove those from the roadway.
Not black table.
No, the trees were the #1. Runoff road crashes with fixed objects. So it's trees and telephone poles, and there's definitely a whole lot more trees than telephone poles for sure. So yeah, we've been fighting that battle for the last 10 years. Yes.
Do you have a DOT have some sort of definition of what constitutes a shrub versus what constitutes a tree?
No, our distinction is woody and herbaceous.
That
Yes.
may be something you want to think about, because I don't really foresee things like wax myrtle. and
Agreed.
things,
I agree.
Which could be, 5, 6 foot.
Sure.
And is causing much of a problem in terms.
Sure. I agree.
And they
100%.
are very beneficial
Yes.
versus
Yes.
just going in and locking everything down because it looks more.
Right. And as we get to the next slides, you'll see what the approach we're taking is a more selective approach. So we will have the discretion to be selective in that way as we, implement the program.
Quick question, you mentioned applying herbicides, is this an additional method, or are you adding another application of herbicide offset the herbicide?
Correct. So it will be to offset the mowing, and it's a transition period. So the way the herbicide application goes in the turf zone is we want to transition that turf to a lower growing turf like Bermuda, centipede, away from the bahia and the invasive grasses. So that would be a transitional herbicide application. Yes, ma'am.
Why grass? Blocks, there are a lot of things.
There are what now?
Why turks on it all?
Well, I don't understand. There's something I don't want to look at these. But I don't rules, but I'm wondering why grass, you have to have over grass, right? And you have mow grass, everything flocks, a lot of them. They're quite beautiful, and it's blue, on the winter and grass. I don't get that.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, we're a Department of Transportation. It's understandable that you would be concerned about that. Our limitations are significant. I mean, I don't have an extended budget, and I do have certain tools in my toolbox to maintain. One of that is the mower. The other is a herbicide application, and I have grass. So it would be very expensive to implement a new vegetation type within that turf zone, which we don't have the funding to do.
If y'all can hold the questions until the end, I think we'd be a little better off, better finish the presentation. Can you write it down?
Well, I just wanted to know now.
If we can wait until the end of the presentation, I think we'll have some time for questions.
To A and B. See where we are. Okay. Yeah, y'all didn't let me finish talking about my favorite picture of the presentation. So give me my time back. So I did want to tell you, this was the cover photo. This is my favorite photo from the presentation. We cleared, this is the I-95, I-26 interchange, which is under an expedited reconstruction that's ongoing right now. We cleared the trees out of this interchange to allow that project to remain on schedule. And we cleared it in the summer of 2023. I believe we finished up the last one in July of 2023. And this is in October of 2023. And I just love this photo because it just demonstrates to me that given the right conditions, Mother Nature will regenerate in a beautiful way. And I love this photo because when I took it, this was alive with insects. So it was a really neat time and place. And obviously, this is, our state wildflower. So I love that as well.
Current photo of that.
I'm sorry?
You have a current photo of that?
Well, it's not very pretty right now because it's all under construction. It's got new overpasses and it doesn't look beautiful anymore. But we will get it back there once they're done with construction. And so this is just a kind of a calendar overview of the plan. It just shows that we are spacing out those mechanical mowings and the turf treatments as needed. So the one thing I do like about this approach is it is customized. I don't have a whole hog, you have to cut 6 cycles, or you have to spray the turf zone. If it's not needed, then I don't have to implement that method. I do like the customizable approach. And then obviously this is year 1. So we're going to learn a lot. We're going to try some things that aren't going to work. And then eventually we'll get to some, the plan that works the best. But I do like this approach where we can customize this plan as we move along. And this has already changed. So this year, as we've implemented these timelines, the drought obviously was pretty significant. We were able to delay mowing further than we thought we were going to have to, which was great for us. And so we will continue to monitor the plan. And this is just a calendar. I know you can't really read this, but this just shows the green would be the turf mowing schedule. So you have those 3 spaced out. Aiken County is off cycle from the rest of the Midlands because of the Masters tournament. So we did go in and mow that in advance of the Masters due to the economic benefit to the state. And then that's just another mowing plan. But I wanted to show you the planned area. So the pilot area is massive. When my management said we were going to be implementing a pilot project, I thought, oh, great. I'll have a county that I can pilot this in. They said, no, we think we want you to do 2 districts of interstate. Wow, that's pretty significant. So it's in green there. It's essentially the Midlands interstate corridors. For us, that's districts 1 and 7. District 1 is here in the Columbia area. District 7 is Orangeburg area. But that is the pilot area. So very significant corridor. About 3,500 acres of routine mowing currently. We're incorporating 1,300 acres of meadow in this area. And then we're going to maintain that expanded footprint as it's turned over to us. Some of the goals I've already mentioned. I want to implement an integrated approach, not a one-size-fits-all, one plan fits all areas method. We want to preserve our investment in those reclaimed areas. So as we do get reclamation, we want to preserve that and maintain that area and meadow area. We want to reduce worker exposure on the roadsides. That's always beneficial. And then obviously increase pollinator habitat and nurture some native plant growth in those areas. Okay, one thing I do want to mention is aligned expectations. Does anybody here remember the old wildflower program that DOT ran? Remember those massive wildflower plots? So that is not what we're attempting to do here. Those were beautiful. I was actually hired to run the wildflower program in Charleston. But that is not the expectation here. I want to make sure I'm very clear on that. So this is not the goal of the program. It's lovely, looks really good from afar. Up close, there's no diversity in this at all. This was orange cosmos, and we planted these by the thousands of acres in the early 2000s. But that is not the objective. It will be more of a naturalized meadow is the objective. And then hurdles. Obviously, I have my hurdles in front of me, as you have pointed out several of them in this room tonight. But managing that transition period. So this is year one. It's gonna be a little rough. That turf zone is not gonna look great. Some folks, not necessarily in this crowd, but I am going to get a lot of pressure from other folks that I'm not cutting the grass enough. And I'm not cutting enough turf zone because they like it all mowed 6 times a year. So just imagine I'm getting it from a lot of different angles. So hurdles come in all different shapes and sizes. But we want to maintain a reasonable aesthetic standard. That was something the Secretary of Transportation said to me himself, that the department had done a good job improving the aesthetic standard of the interstate. We've put a lot of investment into mowing, litter removal, sweeping to make the interstate system very, aesthetically pleasing and user friendly. So we want to maintain aesthetic standard, keep up with that footprint increase. And then here I am today engaging stakeholders. So those are the hurdles that we expect. And there will be more. I'm sure that's not a comprehensive list. So I'm sure I'll add to this when y'all are done with me in about 2 minutes. I'm kidding. I don't know how many minutes Andy wants to give for questions. But yeah, so that is my contact information. Right now I'm enjoying some of the ragwort that's blooming on the roadsides. So I've really enjoyed seeing that pop up, and I guess we are good for questions at this point. Okay.
So my burning question.
Your burning question that you remembered this whole time. Did you hear anything I said up until then?
To say much about it. So you were talking specifically about the monarch butterfly.
Yes.
So you're gonna plant milkweed possibly?
So right now, I do not have funding for milkweed. I just executed a grant. Our grants administrator just sent that off today. And so we are hopeful with some funding, we are able to plant some milkweed, yes.
Well, so I worry that, this is 50 feet on the edge of these super highways where, vehicles are traveling 70 to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so you're attracting pollinators and butterflies, but they don't know to stop at the edge of the pavement. So it just seems to me a better place to plant those things would be like in power line easements instead of on the sides of highways.
Right.
So has anybody talked about that?
So Duke is the only one that signed up in South Carolina for the CCAA. I haven't seen Duke's plan, so I don't know. I don't know if they have planting incorporated in their agreement. But I have heard a valid concern, which would be monarch hits, and one of the recommendations for if we are able to get funding to plant milkweed would be in the, I think I had a picture of the I-26, I-77 interchange. That is a massive interchange. Like the interchange is hundreds of acres. So from the edge of the road to the center of the interchange can be like 300 feet in this massive interchange area. So to focus more on those wide swaths and less, and of course it's going to have to be a targeted approach anyway, because I don't have a ton of money to buy and plant milkweed. So it would have to be targeted pockets where we would plant those, and we would seek out areas like that. Yes.
I have more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
My number one concern is that we are using, at least, we are avoiding, when you say naturalized versus native, that we're avoiding any invasive non-native species just because it's naturalized. Well, I think we should avoid anything, accepting anything just because it has naturalized. Maybe it's naturalized because it's invasive.
Right. No, it's a great point. And obviously I don't want invasive species on the right of way in the meadow, but if we're managing over 1,300 acres of meadow, that, my resources will be limited in that way. But my goal would be over time as this, because long-term maintenance of this area should recoup some savings over time. And over time, that gives me back some time and money that I can focus on other things. So as we learn those things and we do see those invasive things crop up, we can deal with those as that appears.
They're saying.
Right.
If you have invasive, you have to deal with it. Like you say, don't plant invasive.
No, absolutely not. No, one of the projects we're dealing with right now is how do we deal with the calorie pair? So we're very aware that that's going to be a challenge. Yes.
This is hopefully not an embarrassing question, but are you the only one involved in this project that has even had to handle activities?
At the moment, yes, I am hiring, so I'm looking for the next victim that's gonna stand here beside me. But yes, at the moment I am.
That's quite an undertaking, really.
It is, we do have an environmental department, so I do have biologists in the building. They support it, but they're not on the implementation team here, so, yes.
I did want to ask, so in that 25-foot person, is the motivation for swapping some of those like frequent mowings to herbicide applications, is that cost mostly
Yeah.
motivated? Okay.
Yes.
It's cost and human
Yes.
exposure.
So I don't have additional money to run this program. So the only way I was able to even attempt to do this was save money elsewhere, right? Because now I have this much area to maintain rather than this, but I have the same amount of funding coming in for that.
Okay, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, please do.
So in that meadow zone, you're talking about managing for woody vegetation. What does that look like? Is that mowing of like?
I'm glad you asked that because I missed that somewhere on one of my slides. So we're prescribing a winter cut as needed. So there's going to be a combination of efforts. It's going to be a winter cut. And then we're also going to do spot spraying. Spot spraying is particularly for those aggressive areas, invasive species. But those two things. Yes. Yes, sir.
What are your criteria to determine whether or not this is successful?
That's a wonderful question. And I don't have a specific metric that I have been handed to say it is successful. So that is a great question.
Then what are the objectives?
The objective is to eventually realize cost savings, to manage that additional footprint, keep that woody vegetation out of there. And so once I can demonstrate to my leadership team that I can do those two things, then they would like to do this elsewhere. Oh, there's so many hands. I don't know. Who was next? I think maybe you were.
You know, I understand you're trying to find small and all that sort of thing, but it would be really good if you could have some areas that were dedicated to initiating pretty major plans, or then perhaps there would be some other body outside the development grant fund that has demonstration.
Absolutely.
Because they in fact might have more success for the long term than persisting and not making it.
Absolutely.
Save money in the long term.
Absolutely.
I hope you do something like that.
I hope we do too. And the only thing I can say to that right now is I'm incorporating those baby steps as I can. So we just applied for a $150,000 grant. For us, that is not a lot of money when you're maintaining thousands of acres, but we got to start somewhere. So I hope that those efforts continue. And somewhere over here, yes, ma'am.
First of all, I think it's great that SCDOT is doing this with the meadow areas. That's wonderful. So glad they've got you working on it. Thank you. I'm just curious about your winter cut. When during the winter do you schedule that for this?
So we haven't done this yet. So this will be our first time officially doing this. But the thought process right now is between December and February.
Great. So more towards that early spring. So
Correct.
It's pollinators are a focus for you, providing that overwintering habitat.
Yeah.
Before spring gets started.
Yeah. And ultimately my goal is, so my leadership feels like we're going to need to mow that meadow every year. I know that's not true. So I've got to be able to demonstrate that to them. And over time that will help me and it will help these efforts that you're bringing up now. But I've got to be able to demonstrate that. So I may have to go through the grind initially and do the thing. But eventually I hope to scale that back and not have to do that every year.
So get them excited about how gorgeous.
Yes.
This native grass is looking.
Exactly.
Sunlight comes through.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
I remember the wildflower initiative Something that was beautiful, didn't try to comment.
Yes.
Didn't have to plan. You could have had more diversity in there. Than what-
Correct.
Is there any money left over from that? I don't know, the license plates were sold.
Yes, we do. So we are in process. So that money is still being collected to date. The Parks, Recreation and Tourism uses some of that funding, and I'm not exactly sure what they use that for. But we are actually pursuing receiving some of that funding that's in that account to use on this program. So thanks for bringing that up. And I think there was a question over here first before I go back to you. Somebody who hadn't asked a question yet.
Yeah, will there be any seeding in the meadow of, I'll just call it non-woody plants, or it's just gonna be totally dependent on volunteers and planting milkweed, but
Yeah.
is there any other plantings or just whatever comes in?
Eventually, I hope so. As of right now, the funding that I have set aside is just for mowing, herbicide application and spot spraying in those areas. But eventually, yes, I hope so.
The area you showed with goldenrod and some other stuff, that was just naturally came.
Completely naturalized. Yeah, we did nothing there but remove the pine trees. Yes, and there was another question over there.
I'm just a little bit confused about the mow herbicide
Mhm.
cycle. They're gonna mow it once. Is it gonna be like selective? Are you talking about like a 2,4-D thing? Or are you gonna mow it, kill it, mow it, kill it, mow it?
Yeah, so that is confusing when you say it like that. It's like the definition of insanity. Like you just mowed it, and now you're gonna kill it, and now you're gonna mow it again and kill it again.
You only have to spray it once.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. You just saved me like 2/3 of my budget. I didn't even realize that. So yeah, the herbicide application is for broadleaf weeds, and a PGR to suppress that Bahia turf growth so that over time we phase that Bahia out. So that's the two primary, because broadleaf weeds are what give us the height. They get us in trouble around the cable rail and the guardrail where nobody can see the rail to inspect it and we don't know if it's still working properly. And then the PGR to suppress the height of that turf.
Is that for the 25-foot
Yes,
driveway, not
Yes,
for the meadow?
correct. 25-foot zone. Yes, correct. Yes, back to your question.
So, 99% of what you're doing is driven by the conservation, Canada Conservation Agreement. That's the goal to reach, and so that you can, if you can enter that, I mean, the way, the way they work is what they're trying to do is keep from listing.
Correct.
And so,
Yeah.
if that's what you guys are working towards, is keeping the,
I would say that was the catalyst.
okay.
I would say that was the catalyst to even allow me a seat at the table to pitch this program. And so I seized that opportunity to do something regardless.
You're gonna have to be, I guess, or let me just put it this way, DOT is gonna have to be cognizant of, there's a group overseeing that may require certain things to be done. I mean,
They do.
The herbicides, what if you get overspray and it
Absolutely.
falls into the
Yes.
meadow and you start killing things? That's
Correct.
probably gonna, so they're aware that.
Oh, yes, yes. So we've started down that pathway with the CTA. We have an almost completed application. So we were aware there is some pretty intense oversight in that program. So yes, we are aware. Currently, we can't afford that because I am a staff of 1 plus a vacancy. And so I cannot monitor all of this area. So we would have to hire consultants to do that, which would be an added expense. There's an expense to enroll in the program and an annual expense. So yes, they're very aware that once we seize that, it's going to be a significant undertaking. Yes, there's another question in the back.
So, this is clearly at least a small step in the right direction, and thank you for working in what is, surely a challenging environment at DOT.
Right.
Right. So how will this step in the right direction be sort of promoted along that all, right?
Yeah.
The pictures of.
Right.
Their accounts, whatever.
Right. So this is kind of like phase 1, just spreading the message, getting stakeholders engaged. We do have a public engagement team that is working on some videos to be promoted on social media. So that'll be kind of the next step. If we are able to receive the grant funding that we applied for, we have a campaign section, public engagement campaign as part of that grant. Potentially some signage, some logos, things of that nature, additional stakeholder meetings through that.
Yeah, sort of just how can you do more of this at home that you're doing on the roadside?
That's right.
Idea.
Yes, that's right. Yes, there was a question on this side, I think. Yes.
I was just gonna sort of key off what you had said about getting a seat at the table. For anybody here who's not had the pleasure of working in state government or working with DOT, this is extraordinary. DOT is run by a bunch, primarily a bunch of highway engineers. And
Yes.
coming from a family of engineers, I can tell you that engineers know more than anybody else. How do you think? And they don't always suffer. I love you interest graciously. And so, I mean, I just really applaud your courage in jumping into this because,
Thank you.
You sit at the table and
Thank you.
I think.
And I said, I'll take it. I said, I don't care what you call it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Yes.
So, and for the meadow, portion, instead of doing any kind of pollinator planting, have you looked at all into doing any kind of winter disking to see if it comes back as a seed bank?
No, but that's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up.
What did she say?
Winter disking, to expose the seed bank.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how the programs did Georgia have this before they became a part of that CCA and how the programs gone in Georgia and Florida?
I apologize. I do not know. I have my counterpart in Georgia. There are two agronomists for the state of Georgia. I deal a lot with one of them. His name is Richard Littleton. He manages the roadside, but he's not involved in the CCAA. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I'm guessing their environmental division must run that. So I haven't had a lot of conversation about how that program is going. But that's on the table. So we'll be finding out more from them. Yes.
Have you been to Texas in the springtime?
I have not.
You should go.
Okay.
Because that's what I'm seeing right here.
Okay.
And I think that it will take a long time for South Carolina to even get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was in North Carolina last weekend and they have really planted some very colorful spots.
Yeah.
And that's what people like to see.
Absolutely. North Carolina does a tremendous amount of planting. They spend probably close to my mowing budget on planting. They do a tremendous amount of planting. So we're not there yet. But you know, we'll continue to pursue some planting in some areas.
And I don't expect you to know the answer to this question. Let me just say that up front, but it does sort of beg the question, your one of your bullets about reasonable
Aesthetic standard.
Standard and how many definitions? Are there 50 different definitions, right?
Yeah.
In the departments of transportation across the 50 states? Hopefully, I'll just leave you with this. Hopefully that's an evolving definition.
I hope so too. I was charged with that specific verbiage, with not a lot of other information. So I'm doing my best.
You get to make it up.
I get to make it up right now until I get told your definition stinks.
Playing off of that, once we start seeing these in actions and we have these kind of like meadow areas, how do we like as everyday like citizens or people make a voice heard of like, hey, I like this. This is aesthetic to me. I think that you're doing a good job with this. How do we make sure that that translates into continuing management of that side?
Well, obviously, I think this. So as you go out into your, your places of business, your other connections that you have, obviously just spreading that message. I would ask, I'm not a social media person, so I don't even do this myself, but for those of you who are social media people, to share content. If DOT posts something, to share that, support that. We get a lot of not nice comments on some of our social media sometimes. So it is really nice when public engagement says, hey, this story got great, especially when we highlight maintenance operations. We highlighted like snow and ice, and these guys and gals have been working like 3 weeks straight with no sleep. I mean, they have been grinding it out. And we got all this positive feedback on some post, and everybody was so excited. We're like, we don't get that. That's great. So yeah, just as you can spread the message, I would just ask that you continue. And then as we stand up a more formal campaign, hopefully more will be to come on that. Yes.
So is this basically what's being implemented right now on I-20 between
Yes.
Bush River and 370?
Yes, the mowers cut according to this plan this week. Yes.
Well, there's a huge area, I saw yesterday on I-20 at 26 where the trees have been cut back way over 100 feet.
Yeah.
The whole area.
I-20 and 26.
Yeah, around there,
Yeah.
near the river.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
maintenance did do.
Couple 100 feet at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll see that ongoing. So that is going to continue. For maintenance reasons, for construction reasons, that is going to continue.
And is that whole area gonna be meadow?
Yes.
What is the significance of the yellow areas on the map that you showed, some of which are nowhere near an interstate?
Those are just how that is the base map. Those are metro areas. So like,
Okay, all right. So
yeah.
it's just,
yeah, like Metro Greenville, Metro Columbia, Charleston, Somerville. Yeah. Incorporated areas, I guess you would say. Yeah.
Is there maybe one last question?
I'll let you call who gets it. There was two things that went on at the same time.
We have lots of guide questions. Can we have a girl?
Okay.
Maybe two last.
All right. Is it against the law to spread wildflower seeds in this area that you highlighted?
I think I know what you're asking me without asking me.
So
Yeah, well, what's the language? What is that area outside the mowing grass area?
The meadow zone.
The meadow zone.
Okay, there's not a law against spreading wildflower seeds, but you do have to have a permit to be in the right of way doing work. So there would be that.
What if you crash your car and happen to spend a few hours?
We don't do a great job cleaning up like crash debris, so I would say it's gonna stay there. Okay, I guess we'll take his, okay.
How are you gonna tell if things change the way you want to?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of what you said.
Do you have aspirations or plans to look at how things are changing? Are you gonna
Yes.
say before and after?
Yes, so as of right now, no, but I have been working with a geospatial satellite AI company that this is what they do. They take the satellite imagery, they take my parameters that I'm looking for. I can drill down to vegetation height, vegetation species. I can map all of these things. I can't afford that yet, but I'm hoping to incorporate that as part of the plan. There will be some type of monitoring that goes on with the plan. As of right now, it's you're looking at it. Okay, thank you so much.
As I said before, thank you, Jennifer, first of all, for being here, for taking time out of your day. As I said before, Midlands Nature and Bird Alliance is gonna have some time to talk about their upcoming events. Yeah.
Oh, no.
You all need to, I probably should try to share the screen before I.
I'm just the tech person.
Go, sorry.
So how about that weather?
You go to the same place. Now we come to that first,
Do you need me to pull it back up?
that's kind of what Cedarville University is, that has much to do with me. She's my wife, she has to talk to me, so, don't worry.
Or not?
So, yeah, so just very quickly, and we're only doing this because we're counting this as our meeting. That's pretty lazy for us to do that, isn't it? But, anyway, if you're a, Bird Alliance member, this will probably make more sense, to you than if you're not. But, we've got a few things coming up. So we got a walk at Timberman Trail. That's at 5:30 on Friday, I think, Timberman Trail. So if you know where the KC River Walk or the KC Tennis Center is, you start right now from there on the Timberman Trail. We've got to walk Saturday at the Saluda River Walk at 8, I think, Todd, 8 a.m., not p.m. Yeah, and we also have some night walks. So at our Wanamaker Nature Preserve, we have fireflies. And you may or may not have gotten a spot at Congaree National Park for fireflies. And we get that. It's frustrating. It's hard to get. So we do have a night that we invite people out for fireflies. Registration is required for that one, and preference goes to our members. So if you want to do that, you can certainly sign up for it, but our members do get preference on that.
Join as a member first.
What's that?
Join as a member.
You could join as a member. That'd be great too. The other things are our work days, and May 19th is another firefly walk at Wanamaker if you're interested. So please hang around afterward, talk to us, talk to each other. That's the most fun part of the meeting, except for Jennifer's thing, where she hadn't left already, has she?
Right.
There she is. Yeah. That was the most fun part. Andy, do you need to say anything else before we wrap?
I'll just say, we will have another meeting next week at kind of our normal time again with John Nelson speaking. He was scheduled about the same time as we did this, so we didn't want to cancel him from being here, so he will be here next Thursday, the 14th. In terms of other events, we've got some tabling going on, and then a field trip up to Gopher Tortoise Preserve in Aiken with Steve. He's around somewhere back there. And yeah, then the member meeting quite a ways away in July. Yes, sir.
Can I make a mention that for anyone who wants to buy native plants, on May 16th, they can come to Whitehall Garden Club's native plant sale, the flyer about it on the table. So instead of going out in the woods and getting dirty and sweaty and looking at the garden, they buy some native plants.
Awesome.
Steve says everything's half off, right?
Compared to what you were paying at the.
And I'll just say the same as Clay, like, please stick around, chat amongst one another, hang out for a little bit. We're more than welcome to have you here. Thank you again.